Hi friends, welcome to a new video of watercolor demonstration. In this video, I'll be making this particular watercolor, and this is done in a with a very rough approach. Okay, very bold and rough approach. You will see that things are not given with a lot of precision. Okay, so on the way I'll be explaining my process, and I will be giving a lot of associated information regarding the approach, regarding the materials used, and when I do certain things, why I am doing certain things, what is the idea behind certain approaches. I'll try to fill the video with complete information, so please keep watching until the end, and without much talking, let us go to the video. And one more thing, before you go to the video, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please click on the subscribe button below and also press on the bell icon so that you get notification whenever I release a new video. I'll try to regularly release more and more videos, so please keep watching, please keep learning. If you have any doubt, please let me know. Thank you very much. Let us go to the video. Okay, let us begin with a rough drawing. So you can find the reference image at the top, and the reference image is taken from a Facebook page called Painting References. They have a number of beautiful reference images which is good for painting, right? So here I am making the major lines. Okay, so I am not going for much detailed drawing here. The major shapes, okay, major rectangular shapes, and some suggestion for the shadows and other details, not too much. Okay, and I'm using a darker pencil for this, maybe 6B or so. Okay, and so that I don't have to really press hard on the paper, so I'm holding the pencil very loosely and making the marks and drawing it so that I don't damage the paper, and if at all there are some mistakes, I don't have to really worry about erasing it. That is the reason I'm making light drawing. And this entire video is slightly sped up, means it is 3 times faster. So, but I will try to explain all the process, and you will still get all the information. Right. So the door is the main thing. So I'm just trying to emphasize on the drawing of the door, and the other things are the major shadows at the top, and the shadows in the door, and the yellow color on the blue walls. Yellow door with the light reddish blue wall is the one which is creating interest. I might slightly change the color going forward, but I will keep the yellow door as yellow, but the wall I might make it slightly more bluish. Okay, I think this much drawing is sufficient for the painting. So I am using an Indian handmade paper, watercolor paper, which is called as Chitrapat. If you are in India, you must have heard of it. Chitrapat Indian handmade paper, and I think it was 270 GSM, 300 GSM. Okay, right. Drawing is important whenever you make any painting. Okay, the drawing is important. So if you are not good at drawing, probably it is worth spending effort on drawing. Now the thing is that we should start making the washes. Okay, so for the wash, the main area in this case is the blue wall. Okay, so in the reference it is little bit more reddish, but I may not make it as reddish as that much. I might make it more towards blue, and I'll try to fill the entire area except the yellow door. I will cover the rest of the area with blue wash, and for this purpose I am not pre-wetting the paper. Okay, it is just dry paper. I am applying the colors, and the paper I am using is the paper, as I told, it is Indian handmade paper, Chitrapat, and while making this the only thing I wanted to make sure is that the door area, which is sharp yellow or orangish yellow, that I wanted to keep it as white, so that whenever we later paint that with yellowish or orangish yellow, it will be very clean, right? So the door portion I am leaving, and then I am trying to paint rest everything. And as we go down below the base of the wall, the color will slightly change to a little bit muddy color. So I am slightly changing the color. Okay, I am taking a little bit of what? Okay, I am making yellow for the wall. Yellow means you can take any yellow if you want. The yellow should be bright, and if it can have some orangish tint, it is good. If it doesn't have any orangish tint, you can mix a little bit of red or orange with the yellow, so that it looks like a very warm yellow towards orange, towards orangish yellow. And I'm trying to make some suggestion for the partition of the door and other frames of the door. A slight touch with darker or more orangish yellows. Okay. And the base of the door, if you look closely at the reference, you will find that some reddish tones are there. So I'm sure these reddish tones will fade off after a point, but let us try to suggest the reddish base. And then below that, it is more like a muddy color. Okay, below the base of the door, it is more like a muddy color. It is basically some kind of a slab, and then a lot of darker touches. Sorry, I think couple of seconds video I lost for the initial wash for the slab, but it is just a bluish brownish wash. Okay, when I say bluish brownish, it is something like little bit of cerulean blue and this violet or burnt sienna. Okay, now I am using burnt sienna and a little bit of orange and whatever is the leftover color. So it is little muddy color, so that what we get now is the base coat done in the paper. Okay, so the entire paper is filled up. Now the idea is that let us make the major color or the tone differences of the major shapes. We are trying to make those things. We are not going for the details. We are gradually building up kind of layers. Okay, and now you closely check wherever you are finding little bit of shadows, color differences, and you start making those in terms of layers. Okay, just closely watching the reference and trying to make some darker tones. Okay, so this is not precise, as you see, and somewhere I am even lifting it with tissue paper. And there is some kind of a pipe or something on the right side of the door. So making a suggestion. So nothing is precise here. Okay, so if you're really going for the precise work, this approach may not be good. But if you're going for a suggestive work, this approach should be good enough. Now you see that there is some kind of a sort of raised platform near the door. So I'm making some blue touches there and other blue marks. Basically trying to copy the dark blues according to the reference. Okay. And paying attention to the angle of all those darks, etc. Here I am using a synthetic mauve brush for this particular work, and the brush brand is stationary, and that gives good control, and it reasonably loads a good amount of pigment for this kind of reasonably sized paper. But if you want to go for larger washes, I would suggest to use a natural hair mop brushes rather than going for synthetic hair mop brush. This is a synthetic hair mop brush. For medium size wash, small washes, this is good. For larger wash, you may better use a natural hair brush. Okay. Synthetic brush will have a good point. It will have good kind of tip. So you can do more details also with the synthetic brush. At some places I am lifting it or diffusing it with a tissue paper so that it gives some kind of a texture. See, this is an old structure, so we should get some rustic feel whenever we can. So somewhere things are very getting little bit of rustic or diffusing. Trying to get some of these major shadows as quickly as possible. See, if you can do the major shapes very quickly, then once the major shapes are in place, you can you can think of, okay, what kind of additional details I need. So you give only those details which are actually contributing to the final image. If there are some details which is very intricate and which takes a lot of time to do, and if that is not contributing, and if the painting that much, the effort of painting that much is not really making sense, then discard it. Do only those details which are basically important for the main element of the main focus of the image, main focus or main feel of the image. Okay, so here we are looking for the feel of the image, an old isolated closed door. So only do the details only when it is really required. Otherwise, just suggest. That is my approach. And again, trying to go for the major shadows. If you give the major shadows, then I feel that we get most of the feeling of the scene, most of the generic feel of the scene you will get. Then adding decision is a later activity. So you can actually decide to what extent you need the details. Here when I give these things, the shadows, though I am taking little bit of care for certain areas of the shadows, in some other areas I am not worried too much. Let it diffuse or let it go off by a bit. Let it get diffused by the tissue paper, or you can even diffuse it with your finger. Okay, so I think we are somewhat getting the overall the big shapes are getting okay. The shadows cast on the doors, I'm trying to make it. And if you remember, the base of the door we have painted with red, that all those reds are all absorbed. We lost it. We may have to reinstate that later. And within the shadow, where it is dark, where it is light, that matters. And the door being the major or focal element of this particular image, we'll have to be a little bit more precise here. Okay, so for the darker things, I am using for a little bit of crimson red and Prussian blue to get some of the darkest of the dark. Okay, and really you don't have to really worry too much about the actual color of it. Okay, so you need to judge the tone. So if you look at the base of the wall and some of the pieces of slabs, so they have very dark contrasting edges. So try to get those things done with a very dark, and mostly these are done with a sort of dry brush work also, done reasonably quickly. As I told, this video is fast forwarded 3 times, okay, precisely 3 times. So you just for you to get understand the process in a lesser amount of time. When you paint it, you may paint it slowly, and you may understand the process thoroughly. Maybe you can watch the video a couple of times, and when you understand the process, you can start painting. I usually would suggest whenever you watch any tutorial, not precisely me or anybody else's, try to follow the video a couple of times and understand why the artist is doing certain things. Okay, for example, in this particular case I am suggesting that wetness of the ground, wetness in the ground, and I am kind of diffusing it with the spraying of water. Little bit of water I have sprayed so that they get diffused. The color of the slab was more bluish, so I made little bit of brownish color on top of it, so that we get a little bit of a dusty slab below the door. Okay, now I think the initial glazing is done. We need to get the detailed shadow for all those projected portions of the wall. Okay, so here again, as I told, I am not going precise. So just somehow we want to get the kind of suggestion that we are or the kind of feel that we are getting from the reference, and for that feel whatever minimum work is required, that much only I am doing. So I am not going for a lot of precisions, and I am not even giving all the details also. So if you really look very carefully, I might have missed a lot of things, but that is an artist's privilege to decide what I should paint, what I should not, what I need not to paint. Okay, so within the shadow there are darker shadows. Okay, so you have to really focus on the tonal values of the within the shadow. Also you should be very careful about the tonal values, tonal variations, and try to get those tonal variations done reasonably well. I'm not using too many brushes. I think I have used 2 brushes, number 8 from that set, and maybe number 4. I think number 8 and number 2. Okay, just trying to get some more depth within the wall. Okay, see, there is no much depth that we can get, because it is this wall is actually blocking our view, and we are just painting the wall. The door is not opened, so there is a limitation to the amount of depth that we can get, but in whichever limited way we can get the depth, try to get it. Okay, try to judge the tones carefully and try to get the shadow patterns carefully. That is what we are doing. I think that is pretty much understandable. Okay, now I think in the door, if you see, there are a lot of little bit of details, like the door partitions, door separations, and within the door there are some lines, there are some frames of the door. Those things we have to give. Okay, and there is also a lock, and yeah, that lock also you have to give some suggestion. Again, it is not precise as I told for the other things. I have not made it very precise, but there is a suggestion of the door frames and the lock and other things. That much is sufficient. You don't need too much. Okay, I think we have already got the main feeling of it, and whatever is left is some kind of dark marks or strokes here and there to get the feeling of the overall scene. So some area looks a little bit blank, so we are making some darker touch of the darker accents, the cables and wires hanging. Okay, and some of these cables also have some shadows. We'll have to make those shadows also. So these are the kind of ornamentations, I would say. Okay, so these are not the precise details that we are going for. These are just kind of ornamentations you can do. You don't have to really refer to the reference too much for these details. Wherever you think certain dots can help, you just make it. And I'm not telling too much about the color at this point. It is just dark. Okay, so some mix of what color I have used is I have a set of darks by Prussian blue and crimson lake, and I used to mix that with that dark with the blue or brown depending upon the context to create various darks. There are some kind of patches on the window, not on the window, on the wall, so we are just trying to suggest those things. It is a dry brush work sort of thing. Okay, just with a smaller brush I am making these dry brush works, and wherever required smudging with my finger. Okay, so the smudging with finger will give a little bit of a rustic feel. So I think we got all the necessary informations now. So I'm signing it, and probably we can, I think we need to probably make that below the door we need to make some red coat, but I'm just seeing how it looks without the tape. Okay, so just I'm considering whether I should make that red or not. Okay, let us see how it looks without the frame. Yeah, I think adding that red will enhance it a bit. Yeah, this is it. Okay, this is the photo when I have taken from outside light. Whenever you take photo from open sunlight under a shadow, it gives a lot of enhancement to the colors. Hope this represents the reference, and this is a suggestive approach of painting it. Hope you found it informative, and we will see you in next video. Thank you.